Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
American soccer fans, welcome to episode 88 of the Stars and Stripes FC podcast. It's Donald Wine here, and I wanted to take a few minutes today on this episode to discuss and talk about the life and legacy of Grant Wahl. Grant Wahl, who was an extraordinary person, he was a legendary writer and did so much for the game of soccer and college basketball, passed away at the World Cup in Qatar on Saturday. He was found out today via a Substack article submitted by his wife, Céline Gounder, that it was an undetected ascending aortic aneurysm. And that was the reason for his sudden collapse while covering the Argentina-Netherlands game. I obviously took a few days to kind of process this, and I'll explain why, obviously, in a minute. But for all of us, it's been a tremendous loss for this community. And as we all know, this soccer community is very small. It may feel big at times, but at its core, it has been the neighborhood pub of people, friends talking about this game for so long. And back when there wasn't a lot of coverage, there was maybe 4 or 5 authors, 4 or 5 journalists who would cover this game in its entirety. And Grant Wahl was one of them. And it was one of those things that kind of just punched you in the gut. And I mean, a lot of times when celebrities pass, you feel some sort of connection to them. But in this case, it felt a little real for all of us, myself included. And I think that's what generates the sorrow and what generates just the disbelief that a man who we were talking just a few weeks ago has now passed so suddenly and at a young age, at the age of 49. He had just celebrated his 49th birthday. And I think when it comes to this sort of loss, it obviously helps to talk about it in a way, but also people grieve in different ways. And we've seen that throughout the internet and just throughout the world, all of the tributes and how people are taking this in different ways based on whether they knew him as the writer or if they knew him as a friend. And for me, Grant Wahl was a friend of mine, and, we considered each other friends. We'd see each other. We'd hang out quite a bit on all of these soccer travels to all of these countries, all these different places. He was so welcoming, so warm, so genuine. And I think from all the, tributes that you've seen from people up and down the internet, all across the world, that kind of theme was always part of it, that he was genuine, that he always tried to uplift the voices that needed uplifting. And even if, he himself was busy, and as you all know, he worked tirelessly on so many different things in the world of soccer, he still had time for the little people, so to speak. He had time to help out people where they needed it, or if they asked for help. He had time to celebrate people's successes, to wish them well when they were going through difficult times. He was there. And I think for me personally, I was on his podcast a couple of times. I said it then and I'll say it now. It was an honor just to be called by him and to say, hey, can you come on and talk about this? For the number of people that he had on his latest venture, Football with Grant Wahl, the hundreds of people that he interviewed 2, 3, 4 people a week. For me to be even one of them was just, it seems otherworldly to me, and it still does, to be a part of that. And through the years, being able to talk to him and just kind of talk soccer with him and vibe on the game we both love so much. And also for me, college basketball, as some of you know, I love college basketball. I'm in that world as well. And he started out covering basketball because there was no outlet on this planet that would, at least in America, that would let him cover soccer full time. And that's what he fought for. He fought for the ability to cover this sport full time and to prove to Sports Illustrated and to everyone else that this can be something that can be done. And again, not many people were attempting it. And he was a guy that said, hey, I will cover soccer full time and show you that it is worth covering, that there isn't a community here that appreciates someone diving into the game and all of its flaws, telling the stories that need to be told, telling the stories that, you know, really needed to be out there, and also just covering this beautiful game. And being able to see him on all these travels, it was always so great because he took the time for everyone. He, you know, went to AO parties, and I saw him a lot at a lot of AO events. Most recently, we hung out in London when we were there for the USA women playing against England. And I think that night, it was just a night we went from bar to bar. And while our numbers dwindled, he was still there. He was always hanging out. He was always a part. He wanted to talk soccer with the people who enjoyed it the most. And he knew that this community really appreciated talk about the game and to really vibe on that level. You may not have agreed with everything he said. And obviously there were times where he and I would have differing opinions on whatever topic was the topic of the day, but that's part of this community too. And I think being able to respect each other's opinions and also really understand where their opinions are coming from and understand what they're thinking. And at the end, whether you wanted to agree with him or not, you wanted his take because you knew it was going to be a good one, whether you agree with it or not. And I think when it comes to Grant, that was part of the genuineness, is that no matter what, even if he disagreed with someone on the internet, he would still be there the next day to help him out. I do another soccer podcast. It's called World of CONCACAF, and me and my friends started it just under a year ago. And he was one of our first guests. In fact, I'm pretty sure he was our first guest because he absolutely enjoyed the fact that three guys were as nutty about the world of CONCACAF as he was. And he jumped on our show, and I obviously talk about him more with those guys, with my friends Eric and Jonathan, when we do our own episode over there to reflect. But after the interview was done, the interview was great. It took about an hour, and afterwards he stayed on for an additional hour just to vibe with us, just to talk about all the trade stories of going to all these CONCACAF nations, some of the things that have happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, and being able to just vibe on that level. Again, one guy that he knew and two guys that he kind of didn't but had met over the years, he didn't have to spend 2 hours on a Zoom call discussing soccer with them, but he did. And I think that was really cool. And that was who he was. I still remember during the pandemic when people were doing the whole phone tag game where you're like, hey, call the most important person you know on your phone and see if they'll join the Zoom. Grant Wahl, who joined that Zoom with me and 20 friends who were just, again, trying to figure out a way to make it through this madness that was the pandemic at the height of it. He joined because he knew that he's like, hey, this community talks soccer, I'm in. I want to be a part of that. And that friendliness, that warmth that he always showed in person to people is unforgettable. And again, the times that he's helped me, the times that he's been there to support me and to support others who knew him better than I did, it was unparalleled. And I think that is why so many people feel such a distinct loss today. And why this has been, in a way, very painful for a lot of people, myself included, to just kind of, it's hard to speak about him in the past tense because he should still be here. There's so many, this World Cup on the field is one of the most beautiful World Cups that has ever taken place. Off the field, he highlighted so many of the issues that were facing this World Cup and continued to do it even while he was in country. And very few journalists were doing that. And he was one of them. He stood up to a regime that was, absolutely corrupt and trying to hide some of the very, very ugly things that they were doing. And he exposed a lot of that, and he continued to call attention to, and he continued to hold people accountable. He ran for FIFA president. It started kind of as a joke, but he did it because he wanted to show people that, hey, FIFA is a corrupt system where only the rich and the wealthy and the powerful get to be a part of it. And he was like, I'm none of those things, and I want to make sure that FIFA understands that in this element, football is for the people, soccer is for the people. Whatever you call this game is for us. And he was the guy that really did that. And I think that's why the loss is so real, and it hurts so much, because this community, again, is very small. It's very well connected in the sense that everybody in a way kind of knows each other, even from back in the day, when it was much smaller. You still have you still have that neighborhood pub sense. And Grant Wahl was a very big part of that. And to say he was a legend in the game is an understatement. To say that he was a legend in the basketball world is an understatement. I mean, if anyone has read some of his work, you knew that it was done with research and time and care. And also with that love that he had for that particular sport involved in it. His love for Kansas basketball, he was very well known. His love for Kansas City sports, where he grew up, was very well known. And I think when we look back at this, it obviously was a terrific tragedy for his family, especially his wife, Céline, his brother, Eric, his brother-in-law, and everyone who knew him very, very well. We considered each other friends, but there are people who knew Grant way more and more well than I did. And their loss is unimaginable. And it's one of those things where all of us have a loss of some sort, because again, this game will forever be better because of Grant Wahl, and it will forever. We can always push the envelope of how this game improves, from this foundation to the higher ups of FIFA in our federations, in our confederations, because of the work that he did. So I know this was a kind of a ramble, but I want to get at least some thoughts out there about, my personal, interactions with Grant Wahl, my friendship with Grant Wahl, and just to say how sorry I am that he's no longer with us. Like, it doesn't feel real yet. And it doesn't feel like we have to talk about him in the past tense. And it sucks that we do. For everyone out there who is feeling this, I send along my heart. I send along my strength and my comfort that this obviously will come to pass. We'll all figure out a way to get through it and process everything properly. And it may take longer for some than others. And for me, I'm still kind of processing all of this. But at the end of the day, Grant would want us to continue the work that he was doing. He would want us to continue supporting this game, elevating the voices of people who need to be uplifted, to continue to support the women's game. Again, we have the Women's World Cup coming up next summer. He would have absolutely been there. He covered 8 men's World Cups. He covered 5 women's World Cups. And this was, he was set to go to Australia, New Zealand for his 6th. And we should continue to support all of those things that he enjoyed doing, namely just his soccer, going to these games, men and women, supporting them, supporting the equal pay, equal treatment, and also equal coverage of both men's and women's soccer, and uplifting those voices who are trying to do that. So I know we all can do better at all of that, and I'm no exception to that. And I think when it comes to what happened and Grant's legacy on this game, it's a huge void. I don't think we can ever replace that. And I'm struggling with how to move forward as a soccer nation, because he was such a big part of it. And any success that happens beyond this, he would have loved it. He would have been a part of that success. And so we have to make sure that he is, and make sure that his memory and his legacy continue on. And we have to just be there for each other, for this soccer community. Again, we have to continue to be just tight knit and continue to support each other, support our friends when they have their successes, support people when they are successful, support people when they need the uplift, and continue to build this game from its core, from its people, from us, from Grant. And I'm still at a loss for words in a way on him not being here. The tragedy is kind of overwhelming, and it's a gut punch to us all. But to lose a friend, it's always hurtful. Will always leave a pain in a core, and you always wish that you had that one last exchange. I wish I'd seen him when we were over in Qatar. I wish I'd been able to talk to him, but we didn't get that opportunity, and now we never will. But make sure you keep telling people that you love them. Keep telling your friends that you appreciate them. Keep, again, celebrating people's successes, because those successes, you never know when the next one's going to come or if it will ever come. But I think Grant Wahl's legacy will continue to live on. And for that, we are eternally grateful to him, to his family, to his friends that knew him so well. And most especially continue to support his work. His work is out there, and continue to support it, elevate it, and let's make it where his voice will always live on. So I'll leave it there for episode 88 of the Stars and Stripes FC podcast. We love you, Grant. Rest in peace.